तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः।
ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. We are studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and we are in the conversation dated Friday, December 14, 1883. And we pick up again from that portion where after the midday meal, Sri Ramakrishna lay down on his bed to rest. M was seated on the floor. Presently, Dr. Shama and a few devotees arrived. Dr. Sham, we should read. Shama becomes feminine. In English, A has to be added, but it is not Dirgha. Shama. Dr. Sham. And a few devotees arrived. The master sat upon the bed and began to converse with them. So, fresh topic, fresh people. Master. It is by no means necessary for a man always to be engaged in his duties. Now here always does not mean continuity and all that. Always here means permanently. Duties are not with man permanently. If he is a sadhak, he progresses to a point where the duties fall away. That is what Master is telling. So he starts with householder's life or any sadhak. In the beginning, he has to follow rituals, spirituality in practice outside, and that is called the duty, along with worldly duties. And this life of karma gives him inner purity. And when he gets purity, he gets experience of God. That is the proof of purity. And when he gets the experience of God, his duties fall away. His karma bhav, that I have to do something, itself goes away. That is the result of purity of the mind, where a sadhak experiences God to some extent. So that is the meaning. Course of spiritual life. It is not course of some years. This is the sequence or course in spiritual life. Actions drop away when one realizes God. So he has put a limit on actions for realizing God. Now, this realizing God Ishwar Labh Hole. Now this Ishwar Labh or realizing God can be thought of as degrees. So first you start experiencing God. Your sadhana is not yet over. You have to make that experience permanent and up to fruition. But when you experience God, that can be called realization of God. And especially in Thakur's language, you have seen, when he is talking to devotees, then there is a gap. That means a sadhak experiencing God. This itself, Thakur calls as realization. In this case of sannyasins or those who go beyond, when the I melts in God, Thakur has talked about it quite a number of times. When the I melts in God, there is no question of work or anything. I, the doer, is gone. But even before that, when he directly experiences God, I, the doer, is gone. I remains as experiencer of God. So that is quite enough for the actions to drop down. Actions drop away when one realizes God, as the flower drops off itself when the fruits appear. He who has realized God, this experience of God, direct experience of God, no longer performs religious duties. So first he talked of duties in general, because I am the doer itself goes away. So no question of any duty remains, whether to wife or children or family or house or anything. And then he talks of sadhana, duty, sadhana in the form of duties. I must do this. That is called duty. He who has realized God no longer performs religious duties, such as the Sandhya. Yesterday we explained it nicely. Sandhya Vandana is the full name. Generally people talk as Sandhya, and Sandhya is worship of sun god, praying to sun god for giving enlightenment. And sun god is symbolic here. It is prayer to Hiranyagarbha, God as indwelling reality. And when God is indwelling reality, the proper mantra for that is Gayatri mantra. So the Sandhya Vandana is a ritual made by the rishis so that the mind becomes concentrated and does Gayatri Japa. This only thing is called Sandhya Vandana. Not that anything we do in the evening cannot be called Sandhya Vandana. And this Sandhya Vandana, the main part is Gayatri Japa, Gayatri Dhyana, Gayatri pronunciation. All this is related to sun god in a way, actually the Hiranyagarbha, the indwelling reality. Now suppose we get experience of that indwelling reality, then the Gayatri will proceed nicely without the ritual. As soon as we sit and think of God, the mantra will come to us and we shall chant that. And later on, when the direct experience becomes steady, this Gayatri also melts into Om. And this is what Thakur was talking when Master Mashaya met him first time in that room. And same thing is because that is the principle. So he is telling the same thing to the householder devotees assembled there. In his case, the Sandhya merges in the Gayatri. When that happens, it is enough for a person to repeat just the Gayatri mantra. So his sadhana is not yet over, but I am the doer is gone. So he need not undertake the rituals. He directly takes up Gayatri and his mind becomes concentrated. Then the Gayatri merges in Om, that is directly realizing God. What Thakur called directly realizing God, that happens. After that, one no longer chants even the Gayatri. So this doer I also has grades. First, lot of rituals. Secondly, only mind concentrated on God through the Gayatri. Thirdly, that Gayatri is not necessary. Name of God is sufficient and it merges in God. So, then the Gayatri merges in Om. After that, one no longer chants even the Gayatri. It is enough then to chant simply Om. So that Om is to be chanted. How long should a man practice such devotions as the Sandhya? So he takes up that again. As long as he does not feel a thrill in his body and shed tears of joy while repeating the name of Rama or of Hari. So this is his broadness. It is not only Gayatri and Om, but any name which stands for God. And when he chants, he gets the full experience. And this experience, then he chants. That means the experiencer has remained, not the doer. And then when that merges, then that is Samadhi. Rama or a Hari. People worship God. Now, on the other hand, why it does not happen in everybody's case is the question naturally arises in our mind. We see people doing Sandhya throughout their life after life. Why does the Sandhya does not merge in Gayatri or Gayatri in Om? That is the question standing in our mind. And so, anticipating that question, Thakur replies that people worship God to win money or a lawsuit. For that they worship God. Then this briefing, if we call it, can never happen. Because they are the doers and they are dealing with the gross world. So even the only repeating Gayatri also cannot come to them. They are in the gross world. That is not good, Thakur tells, because they are not loving God. They are loving money or to win that lawsuit, and they are making God the medium, so their mind will not go to God. That is not good for a sadhak who wants to reach God, who wants to experience God directly, a devotee. Now, one of them or some of them might be of that very type. That is what Thakur has broached that subject. So he feels that what Thakur is telling is not right. Everybody wants money. What is wrong if we worship God for money? Instead of trying to earn money by bad means, let us worship God for money. So what wrong is there? So he wants to give some example which he knows that Keshav was very much loved by Thakur. So he takes Keshav's example. A devotee, we find that everyone strives after money, everyone. And then he gives the example. Even Keshav Sen married his daughter to a prince, money. Master, Keshav's case is quite different. What is the difference? God provides everything for a genuine devotee, even without his making any effort. So he did not have to make effort for that. God provided, God brought that good, you may say, the groom, and Keshav married. And Keshav did not belong to you people. His grade is not like you people, is not like the Karmi. And he is giving his own example. The son of a real king gets his monthly allowance. I am not talking of lawyers and men of that sort who go through suffering in order to earn money and who become slaves of others to that end. So if money is your aim, you have to follow somebody and you have to be like a slave to those persons. I am speaking of a real prince. A true devotee has no desire. He does not care for money. Money comes to him of itself. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. Ananyas chintayanto mam. Ye jana paryupasate. If the man feels he has no separate existence than God and he thinks of God, then God himself provides whatever is needed in his life and he protects also whatever is in his possession for the sake of spiritual progress. The, so that is called, he does not care for money, money comes of him to him of itself. The Gita describes such a devotee as content with whatever comes to him without effort. So this is in the Gita description of a sannyasi actually. It may be of householder also. Yadricha labha santushto dvandatito vimatsara samasiddho vasiddho cha krutvapi na nibaddhate. So yadricha labha. That means without making any effort, food comes to him, clothing comes to him, money required comes to him. Sometimes it comes more than necessary. Then he gives to others. So he does not have to make effort. He only thinks of God and God provides to him. That is called yadrichala. Without effort, without your effort, when it comes by itself, providence brings it, that much you are satisfied. You don't want more than what you need. So I was telling, sometimes it comes more than you need. He does not keep with himself. He will immediately send it to some needy person. And everything needed for his life comes to him, somehow or other. A good Brahmin, so the Brahmin is Sattva. And he says a good Brahmin, without any personal motive, can accept food even from the house of an untouchable. See, clearly mentioned. The position of Brahmin of those days is the position of sannyasis of today. And some orthodox die-hard people say that bhiksha should not be taken unless he is a Brahmin. Now, this rule is there for the Dandi Swamis. That means who do not have that much vairagya. But as a compulsion according to Hindu scriptures, he has taken up sannyas. He has to keep the danda to remind him of his laws, rules. And his rules are rigorous. It may be for him. But if the sannyasis in general think about these things, what should I say? So, understand, Buddha, I told, was the real sannyasi and he accepted the invitation of a chandala. Can accept food even from the house of an untouchable. Your speaker has visited the untouchables colony in Rishikesh and accepted the food, and they were so happy to give that food. Because perhaps other people who seek Madhukari never visited that colony. Very few people in Rishikesh goes for Madhukari. Otherwise, they stand in the chhatra and get food. Few sadhus do Madhukari. And in those, perhaps I was the first one to go to that Harijan Vasti. So, He does not desire it, it comes of its own accord. So he is not specially going to Harijan Basti, that is another fad, to show that I will go to Harijan Basti. No, he saw some houses at a distance and he went there and he found that it is Harijan Basti. A devotee. Now their sense has returned about money and all that. So he is asking, sir, how should one live in the world? And this problem repeatedly Thakur has solved again and again for different devotees. They did not have the gospel to consult at that time. Live in the world as the mudfish lives in the mud. So he has another example with him. There is a mudfish who lives in the mud, but mud does not stick to him. That is the special quality of that fish. So like him, you live. Don't get attached to anything in the world. Don't talk of the world as mine. Wife, sons, daughters, brothers, sister, father, mother, house, money, not yours. Provided by God. And in that way you should live in the world. One develops love of God by going away from the world into solitude, and this is Thakur's constant theme. You may be a householder. It does not mean that 24 hours, 7 days of a week, 12 months, or year after year, you should be sticking to your house. I will make some fun here. Words. Grihastha means one who stays in the house. Householder means one who holds to the house, he does not want to give up. And the actual word in our Shastras is Grihasthashrami. Ashrami means he takes its ashraya, support, to attain his goal of life. So, about them Thakur is talking. It does not require for him to stay 24 hours into 7 days and eternally in the house. So, one develops love of God by going away from the world into solitude now and then. It is known that householder cannot remain in the forest like a sannyasi, but now and then he must go to solitude and meditating on God. It is not simply going to solitude. Going to solitude and meditating on God. After that, one can live in the world unattached. So when I get some experience of God, then only he can live in the world unattached. The mud is there, that mudfish example, and the fish has to live in it, but its body is not stained by the mud. Such a man can lead the life of a householder in a spirit of detachment. So, many people boast wrongly. We are in the house, but we are anasakta. It is not easy. One who has gone to solitude, one who has got rid of I and mine and lives in the world, he can remain unattached. The master noticed that he was talking to all the devotees, but he noticed that M was listening to his words with great attention. So, M has been able to catch Thakur's attention. So, Thakur now turns to M and talks. Thakur looking at M. One can realize God if one feels intense dispassion for worldly things. M is a householder, he has children, and Thakur does not want him to become a sannyasi. And yet, dispassion is necessary. You are in the world does not mean you should go on enjoying the world. A man with such And that is specially for him, because his mind is ready for that. A man with such dispassion feels that the world is like a forest on fire. In the Marathi saints literature, there is an expression, one who is burning with the three types of tapas is qualified for spiritual life. Now, as a fact, everybody is burning. But the meaning is that when you are aware of that, when you feel that, it is like that. Otherwise, everybody is living in the world and they live life after life without caring. So, a man with such dispassion feels that the world is like a forest on fire. He regards his wife and children as a deep well. If he really feels that kind of dispassion, he renounces home and family. It is not enough for him to live in the world in a spirit of detachment. So such man becomes a sannyasi. If the dispassion is intense, he cannot remain in the house. The big example is Yajnavalkya. When he got such knowledge, he left the home. He cannot remain. If we want such example, in Thakur's children, there is a great example of Balram Babu. Though he did not formally become a sannyasi, though he did not leave his house, but living within his house, he was a sannyasi. And towards the end of his life, in his final sickness, he did not allow his wife to enter his room. And he did not feel any contraction in taking physical service from Shivananda Swami and Turiyananda Swami. They were attending on him in his room. So, that is an ideal for an householder. So he cannot say that I'm living in the house and unattached. The normal thing is that he goes away. Women and gold alone is Maya. Maya means one that binds people. And what binds people? We have repeatedly understood this. Desire for enjoyment and desire for the means of enjoyment. That is woman and gold. If Maya is once recognized, it feels ashamed of itself and takes to flight. So if one understands that the perception of the world is delusion, the perception of the world is unreal and it is binding. This is Maya. People do not know. They take the world to be real. So if Maya, no, theoretically telling it is Maya will not do. When one really recognizes it in life, this life is a life of delusion, then Maya disappears. Once the discrimination and dispassion is strong, the Maya, the deluding power is gone. Once you recognize that it is a deluding power, it will not stay. So what removes Maya? This knowledge. And for this, Thakur has a beautiful example. It feels ashamed of itself and takes to flight. A man put on a tiger skin and tried to frighten another man. Thakur has several examples. But the latter said, I have recognized you. You are our Hare. At that, the man dressed in the skin went away smiling to frighten someone else who will not understand that. Now, it does not mean that we have to look down upon women. That grina or hatred is a stronger binding force. So, how not to think of women and God? Thakur has a sure method. Deification. All women are the embodiment of Shakti. They are mothers. It is the primal power that has become woman and appears to us in the form of woman. It is said in the Adhyatma Ramayana, that is Thakur's support for this statement, that Narada and others praised Rama, saying, O Rama, thou alone art all that we see as male, and Sita all that we see as female. Thou art Indra and Sita is Indrani. Thou art Shiva and Sita is Shivani. Thou art man and Sita is a woman. What more need I say? Thou alone dost exist wherever there is a male, and Sita wherever there is a female. So here, Ram and Sita difference is not created, but easier to understand. Rama and Sita are identical, but easier to understand that Rama is male and Sita is female. To the devotees, now special attention to Master was going on, Master Mahasaya, now again to devotees general. One cannot renounce by the mere wish. There are prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma means sanskaras of previous karma on you. There is a momentum on your mind. Inherited tendencies. Inherited does not mean from father and all that. Inherited from your past lives. And the like. Once a yogi said to a king, live with me in the forest and think of God. The king replied, that I cannot very well do. I could live with you, but I shall have the desire for enjoyment. If I live in the forest, perhaps I shall create a kingdom even here. I still have desires. So the king was a wise person. He knew this. Natavar Panja used to look after his cows in this garden. During his boyhood, he had many desires. Hence, he has established a castor oil factory and earned a great deal of money. He has a prosperous castor oil business at Alambazar. He was a poor man, grazing cows here, but he wants money and he is earning money. There is one sect that prescribes spiritual discipline in company with women. There are many. Thakur is referring to the Karta Bhaja Sampradaya of Vaishnava. I was once taken to the women belonging to the Karta Bhaja sect. They all sat around me. I addressed them as mother. At that they whispered among themselves, he is still a Pravartaka. Two extremes look alike. He doesn't know the way. According to that sect, the Pravartaka is the beginner. Then comes the Sadhaka, the struggling aspirant. And last of all, the Siddha of the Siddha. In between there is a step. He becomes a Siddha, and the last step is Siddha of Siddha. The supremely perfect. A woman walked over to Vaishnavacharan and sat near him. Asked about it, he answered, she feels just like a young girl. thinking of her husband or paramour. One quickly strays from the religious path by looking on women as wife. But to regard her as mother is a pure attitude. Vaishnava says that she has a balika bhav. That means she does not look upon Vaishnava Charan as her husband or paramour. She looks upon Vaishnava Charan as her father. But Thakur is telling, Stri bhave shigra patan hai. I am his wife. That will be a fall. Matru bhav, Shuddha bhav. All women should feel all men are their children. And all men should feel women are my mothers. Some of the devotees took leave of the master, saying that they were going to visit the temple of Kali and several of the other temples. For them, this is sufficient. M went walking alone in the Panchavati and other places in the temple garden. He did not mix with the group. He thought about the master's assurance that God can be easily realized and about his exhortation to lead a life of intense renunciation, and is saying that Maya, when recognized, takes to flight. So these are the main points, and I started thinking of that. So this is another lesson. What we hear from the Guru is not only to be heard and left, but it has to be retained in the mind and meditated upon. At 3:30 in the afternoon, so Thakur had no sleep. Afternoon he rested, people came and he started talking. At 3:30 in the afternoon, M again entered the master's room and sat on the floor. A teacher from the Broughton Institute had come with several students to pay a visit to Sri Ramakrishna. So the teacher thinks that the students will benefit tremendously, they will take a direction in their life, so he brought them to Sri Ramakrishna. They were conversing together. That means the teacher was talking to the students themselves. Now and then the teacher asked questions. The conversation was about the worship of images. Because the students in those days, even today, influenced by the Western thought and the Brahma Samaj and such people, not think properly of the images. So whether this is right or wrong, or some may be having that sanskar, so like that they were talking. Master to the teacher. What is wrong with image worship? The Vedanta says that Brahman manifests itself where there is existence, light and love. Oh. Ah. Now, Brahman is called Satchidananda. This is an objective description of Brahman. If that is experience, the words become asti bhati priya. Sat means existence. Experience means he is. Consciousness. Experience means he shines. Ananda. Experience means he is dear. Asti bhati priya. So it has been translated as love. Ananda, when experienced, is called love. Forget that love is attraction between two earth particles. Love is an expression of Ananda Swarup of God when experienced. So Thakur is putting these things on the solid basis of Vedanta. Therefore, nothing exists but Brahman. So even that image is Brahman. Why not worship it? Their question is why worship it? Thakur's question is why not worship? How long do small girls play with their dolls? Now he's telling the place of that in life. As long as they are not married and do not live with their husbands. After marriage, they put the dolls away in a box. What further need is there of worshipping the image after the vision of God? So then you can say that images are not necessary. A beautiful, homely example. Especially in those days, because girls were married young in those days. The master glanced at him and said, one attains God when one feels yearning for him. Now and then he is looking at him. So it is specially meant for him, and him should remember that. The master glanced at him and said, this is M's glory. Everywhere he mentions to whom Thakur is talking. So any sentence from the gospel should not be taken as universal. What applies to us should be seen. One attains God when one feels yearning for him. An intense restlessness is needed, though through it the whole mind goes to God. No restlessness and whole mind. So restlessness is of different types. Worldly attachment produces restlessness. That is not what is wanted. Yearning, restlessness, one-pointedness. This restlessness means, how shall I attain God? How shall I attain God? That intensity is called restlessness. Now, example. And in those days, a lot of child widows were there. So, in reference to that, a man had a daughter who became a widow when she was very young. She had never known her husband. She noticed the husbands of other girls and said one day to her father, where is my husband? The father replied, Govinda is your husband. Govinda means Krishna. He will come to you if you call him. At these words, the girl went to her room, closed the door, and cried to Govinda, saying, Oh Govinda, come to me. Show yourself to me. Why don't you come? God could not resist the girl's piteous cry and appeared before her. Facts of life. Yearning. Thakur is showing the example. She did not know that there has to be a male husband and all that. Because child widow. One must have childlike faith and the intense yearning. So he has given that example for childlike faith. When the father told, she got it. How, when she did not ask. And the intense yearning, like a child feels to see its mother. In this yearning, a child feels for the mother. That yearning is like the red sky in the east at dawn. After such a sky, the sun must rise. Immediately after that yearning, one sees God. So, let me see the word. It is Arunodaya or what? In English, it is all right. We need not even say, huh? Arunodaya. But we need not go to that. Redness in the sky. When does redness come in the sky? According to physical science, the sun is at a distance, but the sun's rays touch that first. After that, roughly after 40 minutes, the sun will be seen. So that is what is called dawn in English. So as soon as dawn is there, that means Vyakulata is like that. Sun is bound to come. Here Thakur tells immediately he will come. But otherwise, you have to just hold on that intensity. For a few minutes, the sun is coming. So when this intensity comes, no bother. You only have to retain that intensity. Bas. After such a sky, the sun must rise. Immediately after that yearning, one sees God. Let me tell you the story of a boy named Jatila. It's a common story. He used to walk to school through the woods. There were no schools in every village. So in bigger towns or bigger villages, there was a school. And this boy had to cross a forest to reach that school. And the journey frightened him. One day he told his mother of his fear. She replied, why should you be afraid? Call Madhusudan. Mother asked the boy, who is Madhusudan? The mother said, he is your elder brother. One day after this, when the boy again felt afraid in the woods, he cried out, oh, brother Madhusudana. But there was no response. He began to weep aloud. Where are you, brother Madhusudana? Come to me, I am afraid. Then God could no longer stay away. So everywhere is showing childlike faith and yearning. He appeared before the boy and said, here I am. Why are you frightened? And so saying, he took the boy out of the woods and showed him the way to school. When he took leave of the boy, God said, I will come whenever you call me, do not be afraid. One must have this faith of a child, this yearning, both things. Another example. A Brahmin used to worship his family deity daily with food offerings. Now this is a story which Thakur has heard. But the real story is about Namadev in Maharashtra, who was a tailor's son, not Brahmin. Otherwise, the story is same. In that Bhaktamal Grantha or somewhere that may be there. A Brahmin used to worship his family deity daily with food offering. One day he had to go away on business. As he was about to leave the house, he said to his young son, "Give the offering to the deity today. See that God is fed." The boy offered food in the shrine, but the image remained silent on the altar. It would neither talk nor eat. The boy waited a long time, but still the image did not move. But the boy firmly believed that God would come down and from his throne, sit on the floor, and partake of the food. Again and again he proved to the deity, saying, "O Lord, come down and eat the food. It is already very late. I cannot sit here any longer." But the image did not utter a word. The boy burst into tears and cried, "Oh Lord, my father asked me to feed you. Why won't you come down? Why won't you eat from my hands?" The boy wept for some time with a longing soul. At last the deity, smiling, came down from the altar and sat before the meal and ate it. After feeding the deity, the boy came out to the shrine room. His relatives said, "The worship is over. Now bring away the offering." "Yes," said the boy, "the worship is over, but God has eaten everything." "How is that?" asked the relative. The boy replied innocently, "Why, God has eaten the food." They entered the shrine and were speechless with wonder to see that the deity had really eaten every bit of the offering. Normally, the pujari takes away and leaves a little as prasad and says, "Take it." That they were expecting, but there was nothing. And now uh, that was in the beginning of afternoon. Now, late in the afternoon, Sri Ramakrishna was talking to him because M has gone to stay there. They were standing on the south side of the Nabad. Since it was winter, the master was wrapped in his woolen shawl. We were in December, huh? "Master, where will you sleep? In the hut in the Panchavati?" Because he has come to stay, na? "Won't they let me have the room on the upper floor of the Nabad?" M selected the Nabad because he had a poetic temperament. From there he would see the sky, the Ganges, the moonlight, and the flowers in the garden. "Master, oh, they will let you have it. But I suggested the Panchavati because so much contemplation and meditation have been practiced there, and the name of God has been chanted there so often." Thakur Sadhana Sthan. It was evening. Incense was burning in Master's room. He was sitting on the small coach, absorbed in meditation. M was sitting on the floor with Rakhal, Latu, and Ramlal. The master said to him, the sum and substance of the whole thing is to cultivate devotion to God and love Him. This is Thakur's constant theme. Now, why he talks of two things here? তাকে যদি ভক্তি করা হয় তাকে ভালোবাসা. What is the difference? Because Thakur has used two words. Bhakti means love for plus highest respect. God is the highest thing in this world and I am attracted to him. This is bhakti. And then separately he says love. So bhakti includes love, but love does not include bhakti. Love in the world. At Sri Ramakrishna's request, Ramlal sang a few songs, the master himself singing the first line of each. Let me sing this song and then Ramlal will sing. Ramlal sang, "Oh, what a vision I have created in," I think we'll take it up. After the vacation, I have to make two announcements. One is that the next gospel class will be on Friday, the 24th. 21st Tuesday is Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, and 22nd, that is the second announcement. 22nd and 23rd, the Belur Math function is there in the evening. So this evening class cannot be taken. We'll resume this on Friday. Other announcement is that on the 22nd, I will find some other place to talk to. But there will be a special lecture. Please listen. Sri Ramakrishna as ideal for householders. We have the habit of talking Sri Ramakrishna is Tyagishwara and all that. But how he is the ideal householder, but he is the ideal for the householders. That in great detail we shall talk on this very channel, Advaita Ashram YouTube channel, on 22nd. Same time, 7 to 8. The gospel class will be resumed on 24th, Friday. Om Tava Kathāmritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadaatatam Bhuvi Grunanti Ye Bhurida Jana. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.